Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to episode 45 of the Prosperous Yogini podcast. And before I get going today, I'm going to ask a few favors from you guys because I'm getting lots of messages about how much you're liking the podcast, the changes that you're making to your yoga business, the positive impact that is having. This fills my heart with joy. This is why I show up for you every week, because I want to see yoga teachers who are predominantly female. I want to see all of you thriving, smashing it, helping people through yoga, and you guys having profitable, sustainable, impactful businesses. Literally, nothing gives me more joy. In exchange, guys, can I ask you, first of all, that you download the episodes because it helps on my download count, that you also leave a review. That really helps if you listen on Spotify or Apple. And then if you are one of my regular YouTube watchers, that you like and subscribe. You can't comment in the videos. I have my YouTube comments turned off just because I simply don't have time to respond to comments. I wouldn't be checking them, but you know where I am. You can come and always ask me a question either on Instagram in the DM or drop me an email at amyjonesyoga@gmail.com. I love requests about what to talk about my podcast. In fact, there's a request podcast coming up in the not too distant future about how to price, how to manage your one-to-one offer. But today's episode is about Yin Yoga and the business of teaching Yin Yoga, or why you may want to consider bringing Yin Yoga into your yoga business if you don't already. Now, totally upfront here, I do have an online Yin Yoga Teacher Training course, which of course, as part of this podcast about talking to you about why I think you should be teaching Yin Yoga, I'd love you to come and train with me. You can, at the moment, only train with me online. It is, however, a brilliant online course because it's super flexible, but also includes a regular yin class, live yin class with me, to get to do yin with me every week. So it helps your practice too. And if you go back to last week's podcast where I was talking about your practice matters, I designed my online yin course, so my online yin yoga teacher training course. So one, you get to train and you can bring yin yoga to your students, but two, you get to practice. So you get to combine training with practice. As we say in our household, winner, winner, chicken dinner. And if you keep your eyes open, middle of this year, I'm going to be announcing some very exciting, actually, in-person yin training courses that might not necessarily just be in the UK. So anyway, that's something for the future and to keep you like super excited about what is Amy talking about. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you today about why I think you need yin yoga in your yoga business. And maybe it's not yin, but why you may want to at the very least consider diversifying your yoga offers, diversifying the type of yoga that you're sharing with your students, diversifying the type of yoga that you might be putting into your body, and the benefits that's going to bring to you and to your students. So first of all, I can just be totally upfront with you guys. Like, I am 44, I'm going to be 45 in September. Like, I know that's not old, right? But I'm definitely at a stage in my life where I'm heading into the perimenopause, menopause stage. I certainly am not as young as I used to be when I started teaching yoga and practicing yoga. I mean, I started practicing yoga when I was about 25. I started teaching yoga. I lose track now. I started teaching yoga in my very early 30s. And physically, what was right for my body back then has really changed. You know, in that period of time, my body's changed. My life experience have impacted my body. I've had two children, both born via cesarean section. They're now 8 and 10. I work full-time, self-employed. It's just me in Amy Yoga. I don't have a team of people helping me, although I do have an incredibly supportive husband. I won't lie. For those of you that know me well, you know he is great on the housework, great on the cooking front, which is really good because otherwise I think I would probably starve. Because cooking and me, like, honestly, if any of you know any podcasts, any tips to help someone who really truly believes they can't cook to cook, hit me up because that's me. And also he's really good on the text front. So just a side note, he actually edits my podcast, he uploads it every week. He supported me in getting setting this podcast up, getting the recording sound as good as I possibly can for you guys, which is why if you watch on YouTube, you always see me in a little cupboard, but my little cupboard is great for the sound. And he also is a real whiz when it comes to websites, and he just helped me with my website. So he's super supportive, but ultimately it is just me in my business working full time. I've also got 2 children, full-time mummy. So, busy. And I'm now into my mid-40s, not to mention, as many of you know, I am totally addicted to surfing. So this week, I'm recording the podcast on Thursday. It does go out on Friday. It often goes like this. I am much better just being a bit instantaneous. Sometimes I do batch record my podcast, but a lot of the time the best ones are the ones where I'm like, okay, it's Thursday, I'm going to record my podcast for tomorrow. What shall I talk about? And it just flows. So that works for me, might not work for you. And the batch content if that's a word, batch contenters amongst you right now are like, Amy, you should be batching your time. I do sometimes. But generally speaking, I'm so much better being a bit more spontaneous. There's an overall plan, but plenty of room for spontaneity in that. Anyway, so this week so far, since Monday, I've actually managed to surf 3 times. So it's a good week on the surfing front. It does help the spring's here. So I surf a lot. I put a lot of physical exertion in terms of surfing into my body alongside teaching yoga and training yoga teachers. So there's a lot going into my body. And my body has changed and my body is aging. It's a simple fact. And this is going to happen to you, whether you're male or female, to be honest. We're all going to be subjected to change, whether that is through the aging process. And I don't mean this to sound like actually the aging process is a bad thing and that we should be stopping it. Actually, the aging process is a natural process that happens to the human body. Yoga, 100%, is immensely important in keeping us mobile. Like motion is lotion, and helping to offset some of that reduced flexibility, reduced fluidity that comes with aging in our tissues. So it doesn't mean that you need to hang up. There are plenty of amazing sort of Ashtanga Vinyasa style teachers are moving beautifully into their 60s, into their 70s. I surf with a guy in his 80s, right? It is possible to keep all these movements going, but 100% the way I treated my body in my late 20s, I could not do that now unless I wanted to completely burn out and spend most of my time in bed. So, we are all subject as yoga teachers to change. And that is that physical change in our body as we age. So I'm going to say there's actually maybe our interest change as human beings. We're naturally curious. One style of yoga that we used to be immensely passionate about, we may find ourselves being moved into other directions, and that will get translated into other directions in our business. We may mature, for want of a better word. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I'm gonna think about that word, mature. Maybe mature is not the right word, but our interest in yoga may diversify. That's a much better word. So we may have come to the practice for physical reasons, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I want to say I saw a thread on a Facebook group about yoga in gyms, and the yoga teachers was, I wish yoga, some of them were like, I wish yoga wasn't taught in gyms, and yoga's not just a physical practice. And yoga in gyms brings yoga to people, introduces yoga to people. Many people, who me included, who may have gone to a gym yoga class, will find that as our pathway into yoga. Westerners are very much in their bodies, so probably for most of us to really begin to experience the benefits of yoga, we're going to come into it from a physical practice. Not to mention people who are going to the gym who might be doing a lot of physical exertion in terms of weight and weightlifting and running and treadmills and bikes. They're really going to benefit from the stretching that they're going to get in yoga. So please, I am so in support of yoga in gyms. I am in support of yoga everywhere. In beautiful yoga studios, in gyms, in schools, in prisons, in cold village halls, everywhere. Just yoga everywhere is good, right? Is absolutely good. Okay, I digress. So easily happens, but Your interests may change. So you may get more drawn into meditation, pranayama. I mean, it could be like, it's not, necessarily that we're all going to come into it from the physical practice. It could be we come into it from mindfulness, meditation, pranayama, breath work. But generally speaking, like, it is pretty standard. The journey as a yoga teacher, we come to it for physical reasons. And then it's like I'm peeling an orange, and we find there's loads of layers, and the natural curiosity of the human brain is like, I want to know more. I'm ready to know more. What's the next layer? I'm ready to know more. And that happens in your yoga business. Like, we think of this foundation teacher training course, like you heard Natalie and I talking about this the other week, like, this isn't the end. Foundation teacher training is the beginning, is like the outer layer of the practice. So reason I'm telling you this is I'm going to share with you like the evolution of my teaching schedule and my yoga business as a way to show to you how yin has really had a drastic impact physically, emotionally, and mentally on me, but how that then rippled into my yoga business. So very much when I started out, I was vinyasa, bit of ashtanga, very physical, hot flowing practice. Unless you saw me actually teaching pregnancy, postnatal, and toddler yoga, I'd also done that. So my adult general yoga classes, I used to call it normal yoga, but let's say my adult general yoga classes were all exclusively vinyasa ashtanga style classes. And then I saw the pregnancy, postnatal, and toddler as something different. Back then when I specialized in pre and postnatal yoga, I did that because I knew I was going to start my own children, my own family, and I had an interest and a desire to help women at this stage in their lives. I actually hadn't clocked the fact that actually it would allow me pretty early on into my yoga business to diversify my teaching schedule to appeal to different audiences, to different groups, and also lessen the load of teaching on my body. And this is one of the things I'm going to talk to you about today. So generally speaking, teaching pregnancy yoga, teaching postnatal yoga, toddler yoga is a whole different ball game. But physically, I'm doing way less in those classes than I am in an Ashtanga Vinyasa class. And absolutely, when we're teaching Ashtanga Vinyasa style classes, ultimately we're not doing, but a lot of the time we will be doing some of the class with us, with our students. We will be modeling, and it is a higher energy, higher intensity class. And one thing we see is teachers burning out, feeling very physically tired. I talked about it last week, not having time for our own practice, perhaps considering your class that you're teaching as your practice. And if you are teaching a large number of strong classes and doing a lot of demonstrating within that, although you can use your students to demonstrate, by the way, but I know we don't, then consider that you're always putting a yang type energy into your body. There's always a yang type energy into your business. And what does yoga tell you? That we're looking for a balance of yin and yang. We're looking of a balance of energies. And the reason why we see teachers feeling overtired, feeling burnt out, feeling like they're maxed out on classes that they can teach, because you think, I haven't physically got anything left. It might actually be time, but it might be emotional energy, but it also might be physical energy. I couldn't physically fit into my life another vinyasa, hot vinyasa flow class. I'm done, right? Okay, so if that's you need to bring yin into your body and into your students. But for me, I was like that, very much like that. Then I had my children, and I had young children. I'd actually had 2 cesarean sections as well. So there was also recovery time from abdominal surgery, as well as the postnatal healing and what comes with the postnatal period, which is chronic sleep deprivation. Whether you've had children or not, if you've ever experienced chronic sleep deprivation, you will totally know the impact of this on your, not just your mind, but your body. Physically, the quickest way to lose flexibility is to basically not sleep. I can tell you that straight off the back. So I had a time in my life that I was going back to teaching after having children. I had young children. I was breastfeeding. I wasn't sleeping great. And I was really struggling both in myself to rediscover my strong vinyasa style practice, and then to teach it and to keep up the energy needed to teach it. And not to mention, after I had my second child, Lucy, I basically rediscovered my love for surfing. A group of friends, we all had young children, we all lived locally to the surf break that we, still all live locally to. And our social sort of like escape the children was get in the sea. So here I am trying to teach vinyasa yoga, trying to practice vinyasa yoga. I've got young children, like 2 toddlers, and I am trying to rediscover my love of surfing. And this is like me, my mid to late 30s, my neck, my back, my shoulder was super tight. Lots of other things going on, but physically it was translated in just permanent discomfort in my neck and shoulders, predominantly down my left-hand side. And nothing I did got rid of it. Nothing. I would plow myself through several sun salutations, go and have a massage, just nothing got rid of it. Now, one of my favorite sayings in life, whether it's connected to your business or life will stop, is the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And I just had this realization one day, like, something's got to change here. And I don't want to stop surfing. And I certainly don't want to stop teaching yoga. In fact, I want to grow my business now. My children aren't babies anymore. And I want to have time and energy to be mummy, right? So, these aren't things that I can give up. And the sleep situation ain't going to change anytime soon. I've got young children. So what's going on in my yoga practice? What can I do differently there? And I had really kind of resisted yin yoga. I didn't really understand what it was, to be honest. And I just had discounted it as boring. I mean, you can hear in my life what I was doing up until this point. I would categorize myself a yangster, drawn to doing, drawn to that yang energy. I used to love going through the Ashtanga primary series. I used to love that physical strong practice. I loved surfing. I loved being busy. I loved getting out and doing stuff. But I wasn't giving myself space for more restful practices. I wasn't giving myself space for slower practices. I wasn't giving myself space to tap in to yin energy. That was no yin energy in my life. And when we're out of balance, whatever it is causing the imbalances to be there, I gave you the example of my story. Okay. But whatever the reasons for the imbalance, it gets communicated through discomfort, right? This physical discomfort or a mental discomfort, your higher self, when you're out of alignment, when you're out of balance with where you should be, when you're off your path, the universe will let you know. Okay, the universe will give you signals. Now, if I had continued to ignore those signals, eventually the universe goes, I'm going to do something that's going to make you completely stop. Right. So, and I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford to go completely to burnout where I couldn't get out of bed. Like, I had young children to care. I was trying to start surfing again. I wanted to do these things, but I knew I had to change something. And I looked at my yoga practice and I came to yin yoga and I started practicing yin yoga. And I won't lie, I did find it a bit boring to start with, like only the first few classes. And oh my days, the level of discomfort, and maybe discomfort is slightly the wrong word, the level of resistance to just sitting still and maybe not being quite so deep so I can sit still for that 3 to 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I'm holding this pose for 5 minutes. Yeah. But that level of resistance, it was hard, but I knew that I needed this. I was resisting something I needed. And after a few sessions, I won't lie, I physically felt so much better. It was the first time in what felt like years, when you've had constant pain, constant tightness into the neck and shoulders, when that's been with you, and that was really with me from the birth of my first child, when that's been with you for such a long period of time, to have it released, it's like the heavens parting and the sun comes in and you just feel this huge, literally, that saying, like, weight lifted off your shoulders. that was it. It felt like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. It felt like I had unlocked the key to the secret of what I needed, which was basically staring me in the face. Everything in my life was yang. Surfing, my yoga practice, motherhood. Yang, yang, yang. Okay. And my yoga practice was yang. And it needed to be something else. It needed to be yin. So I got really into yin yoga. And like all of us, yoga teachers, what are we doing? Going back to last week's podcast, we're sharing our experience of the practice. So here am I've had huge transformations, huge positive, impact of finding the practice of yin yoga. The next natural stage is I start sharing it with my students. And I bought Bernie Clark. Like if you're like, Amy, I just need one yoga book. If you're a yoga teacher, like one yoga book, what do I need? I would say you need Bernie Clark's Yin Yoga book. It's my most read yoga book. I just absolutely love it. Not just it's obviously about yin yoga and it talks about the poses, but the sections in the book about the body, the sections in the book about the energy of the body, he puts it in the most eloquent, easy to understand way. I just love this book. And so I bought Bernie's book. I'd read it several times. I was practicing yin yoga and I just started sharing it with my students. And what was really interesting, so this is going back, I'm gonna get these dates right, so all a bit of a blur. 2017, 2018, I found it really hard at that period to get a regular yin class going. So you could get I could get people to turn up all day long to vinyasa yoga. Yeah, not a problem. My vinyasa yoga classes were really full. But when I tried to do a regular yin class, a regular weekly yin class, it was a completely different story. And I think back then, and there's probably still an element, a bit of this today, people didn't necessarily come to yoga the yoga. They were coming for exercises. They wanted to feel it. It was part of their exercise. Now, again, I'll go back to my point at the beginning where I was talking about yoga teachers moaning about yoga in gyms. And we can moan, we can say, well, yoga isn't exercise, right? And people shouldn't be coming to yoga for exercise. Look, if it's the pathway to yoga for that person, they're coming for exercise. Isn't that a good thing? Isn't exercise good? Isn't movement? Don't we want to open the door and get people to come to yoga? And if we get so so serious, yoga is important, but it's not serious. If we get so serious about yoga that we're saying, well, it's not an exercise and you shouldn't be practicing for that reason. So people go, oh, fine, I'll go along to Pilates then. It's a mindset that if, I see now and again on Facebook groups, and really as an industry, we just need to come to peace with it, that people come to yoga for lots of different reasons. All reasons are valid. Movement is movement. Yoga is important, but it's not serious. Okay, so I started teaching, and like I said, I couldn't get this weekly class going, but I tell you what I could do. I could get a monthly workshop going. Not to mention that I could feel a monthly workshop really, really easy. So here is how yin yoga started to shift and my business to improve so it's improved my body. I found the practice of yin yoga, right? Then it's now improving my students because I'm introducing it to them. And they've so far just had yang, 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 yang from their teacher, Amy, in their life. But it's also diversifying my offers with a practice that is less physically impactful on my business. So I'm happy to do a yin yoga class, but also it's diversifying my offers and growing my income potential. This is why you need yin yoga in your business. It's for your body, for your student's body, and to diversify your offers and grow your income potential. So the monthly workshop worked out, I can't remember exactly what I was charging. It was about £15 for 90 minutes. I could get 14 people in my studio. This all of a sudden was helping my students come to yin yoga. I couldn't persuade them to come weekly, but they would come once a month for a special treat. So I was bringing yin yoga to them. I could have got really frustrated, say, guys, you need this weekly. I'm not doing this once a month. No, this is the way they're going to come to it. That's fine. It helped me to increase my income. It helped me to diversify my offers. It was that workshop that I talk about in my mentorship program. Like once I've got someone running some weekly classes and I'm thinking, well, how can we expand from here? How can we sell to your current group of students? Could we diversify out into some form of monthly workshop, a workshop that is repeatable. This was my Yin Yoga workshop. And it rumbled on like this, really, for a few years. And then, of course, we all know what happened. COVID happened. And in the meantime, you know, here's an example of how we are always training. Our foundation teacher training is never the end. I did some training with Bernie Clark online, and I did some training with Norman Blair online. Not to mention, I think it all collided at once. I at the time was training with Gary Carter, who's one of the like world's leading fascial anatomists. And the light bulbs were all coming on in terms of understanding really properly what I've been told up until this point about the human body and anatomy, to be honest, was wrong. Really, these light bulb moments about how the human body actually works, what the human body actually needs, how fascia actually responds to stretch. So that also collided for me. And for me, like my understanding and my passion around fascia, understanding fascial anatomy, Yin answered those questions for me that I wasn't getting for my yoga practice. So this are kind of all collided together. And then we know, of course, that COVID hit, right? Yeah. Okay. And what was really interesting about 2020 was I managed to get a weekly Yin class going online. I set up an online membership and I did one Yin and one Vinyasa, and people really needed the Yin. Like COVID, the stress of COVID, like we might not have been going out because we might not have been allowed to go out, but the stress on our nervous system of COVID was really young. And people really needed Yin, and people were willing. They were stuck at home, right? So all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I've got you now. They were willing to weekly commit to Yin at home. And like cutting a long story short, where I find myself today in terms of Yin Yoga and my business is my monthly membership is the Yin Club. I offer a monthly membership. It's £22. And I teach one live Yin class a week on a Tuesday evening. And people have access to that recording and a large library of Yin classes. And it works so well. Like for me, I feel like you can teach online, you can teach in person, like any style of yoga. It's either or, depends, right? Yin lends itself quite nicely to online because people, the Yin Club guys on a Tuesday evening, we're all in our pajamas and we're all at home. We can make our homes the right temperature. We can all just grab sofa pillows and bed pillows and cushions to do the practice. And I know many of them do the class and roll off to bed afterwards. And also, you know, I know we shouldn't be thinking this is exercise and this isn't exercise, but they don't have to leave the house. It's just so easy for them to get their Yin practice in because it's online and at home, and it works so well. Not to mention the membership brings in a consistent income into my business. Like not huge. I charge £22 a month, and at present I've got about 25 members. And if you do have an ambition, I should talk about online memberships on another podcast. I really love the model of an online membership, relatively low cost, relatively low delivery in terms of you. It's just one live class a week that I do for this. Scalable, so you can have, you know, as many people as you want in it. Maybe what I like to know everyone in my membership, and I like to be able to see everyone in Zoom. So, you know, that hundreds and hundreds of my membership, like unfortunately Amy likes to know everyone, but you know, hey ho, you know, you got to run your business your way. But it really does give me that lovely consistent income that I wouldn't necessarily always get if I was going out and teaching it in person. Like people are paying on a monthly subscription. And if you have an ambition to set up a membership on any level, it's a great thing to bring into your business, but you need to be in it for the long game. And I think that's what people don't understand with memberships. They're like, oh, I'll set up this low cost membership. It'll be, I don't know, £18 a month, and I could have 100 people in it. So that's £1,800 a month. Great. You know, unless you've got a massive mailing list, unless you've got a large following in Instagram that are buying into your offers, to get those 100 people, because people come in and out of your memberships all the time, to get that is totally possible. Anything you want, anything you desire is possible, but it will take time to build. And I think that's what's missed when it comes to those membership models. Like I am 100% in it in terms of the membership for the long game. I've been doing it for 3 years. I've been doing it for 3 years. now. So yeah, Yin Yoga has changed my life. It's physically changed my body. It has literally allowed me to, I still get niggles in my necks and shoulders. That tightness in my neck and left side of my body is my go-to place when I'm overdoing it, 100%. But overall, I don't feel it. I'm still surf 3 times already this week. It's only Thursday. I'm still practicing. Don't take it that I don't do vinyasa yoga anymore. I certainly do, because I need the balance, particularly when there are no waves. I need some yang in my life, because I'm obviously allergic to running. And it's changed my students, because I've got these core group of students that come every week to our Yin club, that their practice of Yin is really important to their lives. So Yin yoga has enhanced my students' lives. It's enhanced my life. Physically, my body, it's not as demanding as a vinyasa style class, and that's working with where I am in terms of my time of life. And it's really helped to diversify my offers and create a consistent income in my business. So it doesn't have to be Yin. It doesn't have to be Yin. And it's not the case that everyone needs to diversify. Like, we've all got all these different businesses, and some of you might be like, I have women who've done my pre and postnatal teacher training course, and their whole business is built around that, and they don't want or need anything else. And you could be the same, you could be specializing in a very particular area, and it literally for you doesn't need to be anything else. But in the majority of cases, I think a lot of us should consider diversifying out into a different style of yoga, which may interest a different group of people. But actually, in the case of Yin, what it's done is it's actually my students that were doing vinyasa yang styles with me have come and done the Yin. I've created, I'm not trying to find a new audience of people to sell to. I've created an offer to sell to my current audience, which is so much easier. So yeah, if you're not teaching Yin yoga, I really recommend that, and you haven't practiced Yin yoga before, well, first of all, come along to my Yin club, or hit me up. You can come along and try a class, right? Or find a local teacher, do some Yin yoga. Yeah. Right. The second of all, if you've been umming and ahhing about doing a bit of extra training and what you should train in, I really recommend bringing some Yin yoga into your life, into your body, into your practice, and into your business. I, of course, would love you to train with me. So if you head over, I'll put the link in the show notes. If you head over to amyyoga.com, you go to training, you'll see my online Yin yoga training course. You can see all the details there, but it's basically flexible, practical, and supportive. So you've training videos are self-paced studies. You do them in your own time, repeat them as often as you want. It has a weekly class, so you can come live to me, you can get your Yin practice in, or you have access to the recording, and you get personally supported by me. I'll give you feedback on your assignment and your teaching. And of course, you can ask me a question. We have access to me via email, and we also have a closed group on the community platform that I use, Circle. So yeah, come and train with me online. If you're like, I really want to train with you, Amy, but I'm one of those people, because like we're all different, right? I'm one of these people that are better in person. Well, just hold on a few months, right? Because I do have some news about some in-person training courses. One will be UK based, one won't. This is so exciting. I wish I could tell you, but I can't, because it's not fully set in stone yet. But stuff is happening behind the scenes. Okay, my lovelies. So thank you so much. Anything you'd like me to talk about, please do. Next week's podcast, I'm quite excited about next week's podcast. You might want to watch it on YouTube next week, so just keep your eyes out and ears out for that. I'm actually going to teach a Yin class next week, because I feel like this is working its way out nicely. This is why I like spontaneity. Maybe there's always a plan that I'm just not fully tapped into it yet. So last week I talked about why your practice is important. This week I've talked about Yin, and why I've come to Yin, and why I've needed to come to Yin, right? Both physically, personally, and for my business. Next week, to kind of like wrap this one up, I'm actually not going to do like a chatty podcast. I'm going to do a Yin class for you. So you would be able to follow it just on the audio, but if you like to watch as well, you might want to catch that episode on YouTube. Other than that, my darlings, anything you'd like me to cover, just ask, and I'll see you all next week.